what is that I am explaining today about data analysis, because most of the people have misconceptions. So before I am getting into data analysis, normally let me explain you about the role of an analyst first, because I am treating you as a layman when I'm going to explain you data analysis. So that I'm going to start from analysis, what exactly analyst role is, and what are the different types of analysts do we have, right? So that from there I will start with. Then I'll go to BA and followed by this data analyst, right? This is what my overall context in reference to the explanation what I'm going to provide you today. So if you see normally in a organization, either it is irrespective of technology, irrespective of the domain, any organization wants to perform their business activities. During the business activities, they wants to take some decisions to improve their business, either in a performance level or in terms of the monetary levels. So there is a constant development of the decisions what is that they were taken. For example, the one which you have taken a decision to increase the effectiveness of supply chain management, there is a concrete information which must be available to you. Either this is in the form of requirement or is it in the form of data, right? So there is a role which normally we call in industry is called analyst, right? So this is a role, analyst. Analyst is an individual or a group of people, whoever they are, who analyze the situation or a business, who analyze the situation or a business and recommend solutions accordingly. This is what generally the role of a business analyst. Again, I'm repeating, this is nothing to do with business analyst or data analyst or something. Whatever I'm saying is in a role of an analyst in any of the organization. I'm not saying whether it is IT or non-IT related stuff. Analyst is a person or an individual or a group of people who analyze the situation or a business and recommending solutions accordingly. So in process of recommending solutions to the people or else to analyze the situation of the business, the approach and all everything will be different. Normally in the professional side, usually analyst will be of multiple types. One is business analyst. This is one kind of profile will be there. Of course, in this business analyst itself, there is another category called data analyst. Of course, we have another profile which you could see, because of course I'm naming few prominent ones. I'm not naming everything, right? Because everything doesn't have any use, because a lot of analysts we have. Of course, I'm mentioning a few analysts, right? So these are the different analyst roles which normally you see in any of the industry. Any industry I'm talking about. I'm not specifying this to the IT company, or I'm not specifying not to healthcare or supply chain or banking. There will be multiple roles. One is business analyst, second is data analyst, third financial analyst, credit analyst, and lot of things maybe. Let us not go into that. So normally in this analysis, a person who understand the business needs followed by the problem they are facing, by gathering the requirements, is what we called as business analyst, right? Normally business analyst is the person who works on the requirements. Okay, there is a constant difference where please understand that, right? Business analyst is the person who always strive to see based on the gathering of the requirements. Means what are the requirements we are gathering? Let's say, let me put you based upon the experience what you are having, right? So you are into supply chain is what you said. Let me give you an example, something relating to that. For example, there is a retail outlet, something called Walmart kind of stuff. Now, what Walmart do? Walmart is the one which is into FMCG and retail related stuff, where they sell different products to the customers, whoever has visited their store. Now, to manage Walmart, there are a lot of departments, there are a lot of business functionalities which Walmart usually carries. In this process, sometimes to manage their operations, they require some technology or some application. Because even though it's a human intervention, it is not possible to perform the activities, everything manually. You know it, right? Manually, we can't perform the activity, even it is billing or inventory management, whatever it is.
So yeah,
So,
part of my job is being a value chain analyst, and my customer is Sam's Club. So like I manage their inventory.
okay,
So I do
great to know.
inventory analysis.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Right. So,
Yeah.
for example, if you take in retail outlet, they use different applications like point of sale system will be used for billing purpose, whereas inventory management system is being used to manage the inventory. Right. So payroll management system will be used for employee management. Right. So different applications will be used by a retail organization to manage their business operations. Right. Now, assume that you are a owner of a business, of a retail outlet, which you are running this for a very long time. There is a point of sale system you guys are using for a couple of years. But whatever the volume of the business, at the same time, the lines of services, what is that you are having earlier is very limited when you are comparing to today. Today, your business has grown to the next level. Customer base has increased a lot. So whatever the existing point of sale system you are using is not performing the right results to you. Means the configuration of the system is very old. Due to that reason, the billing is getting more, right? The time of billing, the amount of time you guys were investing for billing and all, it is taking a lot of time for billing. Hence, customer may feel reluctant to come to the store if this is the same case happens in regular intervals, because people have to stand on queues for a long time, which may leads to reluctancy of the customer to visit the store. At the same time, being a business owner, you want to see reports online where you don't have any option to see online reports and all, so that you are unable to take up some kind of decisions which are major instance. So what you do now, you require an intermediary whom we call it as an analyst. That's what the role we call it as a business analyst. In professional, in industry terminologies, I'm talking about business analyst. So what this business analyst is doing is that business analyst used to interact with you. He try to understand the kind of problem you are facing in the existing application, and he or she try to analyze what are the different features and functionalities your application consists of, and how to improve that to the next level. This is what generally the idea a business analyst do. So in short, if you see, business analyst is the person who try to understand the problem, as well as in a process of gathering the information and all, everything in a document format. It's on requirements, right? He understands your point of sale system, what features and functionalities. He's trying to understand what kind of business problem do you have, right? What are the different solutions to be provided for you? Something like cloud-based POS system, right? This is what generally the business analysts do. Analyst in terms of the business is what we do. So business analyst is the person who works on the business requirements. This is point number one. Point number two, Financial analyst. Financial analyst means person who analyzes the financial position of any organization by performing financial statement analysis, right? So this is what generally financial analyst role. See whether for example, an organization is going for an IPO. You know what is IPO stands for? Initial public offer, right? So when someone wants to move towards an IPO, initial public offer, to raise the funds from the public, they have to apply for an IPO, initial public offer. So if they want to go for IPO and all, first of all, they need to know whether is this organization or the company successful or not, and what is their operational cost, everything, right? So this is one part of it. So there is a role where we see it's called as financial analyst, who understand the financial position of the organization, wherein by performing different techniques, there are different techniques like ratio analysis, comparative statement, common size statement, different accounting terminologies are there. So using all that, followed by this, of course, Excel and all, everything will also be used here. That's a different story altogether. So this is all comes under financial analyst role. Whereas when it comes to the credit analyst role and all, credit analyst who analyze the risk of providing services in terms of the credit rating for any organization, because there are credit rating companies will be there, right? Credit rating, because some companies will be there, they will CIBIL, CRISIL. I think you might have heard about this word called CRISIL, right? So credit, one of the organization called CRISIL. So CRISIL is an organization who provides credit rating for the organizations based on their performance of the business, financial, the kind of risk, what is that they have taken, what kind of risk appetite that organization has. Based on that, they provide rating services for the organization, so that in future, if they are going for any loans or expansions, this credit rating based on that only it will be. That simple thing is CIBIL, right? Normally we follow CIBIL, right? For individual, we follow CIBIL, right? So based on the CIBIL score, people see the repayment capacity of that individual. Based on that, loans will be provided for them. You know it. The same way, CRISIL is the organization which is being used extensively for credit rating, all that. So this is all comes under credit analysis or credit analyst, right? So this is the role here, right? So these are the three different analysts. Last but not least, the role we call it as data analyst. What is that are we going to discuss all about? So data analyst is the person who works on the data and provide a scientific conclusion for any business to take decision on their business needs, right? So this is what generally data analysis is all about. So there is a thin line of difference you see from business analyst to data analyst. Is business analyst works on the requirements, documents, requirements, functionalities, features, all that. Whereas data analyst is the person who works on the data, whatever the data we require, what kind of decisions are we taking in order to improve it. So all these things works under the data analyst. So data analyst is the person who completely focusing on the data. He'll be collecting the data. Let's say, for example, you would like to know about the perception of the customer. For example, you are a manufacturer, you want to release a product into the market, right? So before you are going to manufacture it, before you are investing money, you must be knowing about what is the receive thing, right? So how people receives in future on my product, who are my competitors. So that sort of scientific approach or scientific confirmation is needed. It's not something like exaggeration, right? So something not on the fingertips. There must be a concrete information and concrete conclusion you must expect. So based on that, whatever the relevant decisions will you be taking in your business and all, everything will be varied. So data analyst is something relating to that sector. He can take any data, either it may be belongs to banking sector, it may be belongs to insurance, or it may be healthcare, or it may be retail, right? So or it may be relating to market research organizations, wherever it is. Data analyst means person who works on the data. Analyst job remains constant and same everywhere. If you can see the kind of profiles which was mentioned here, either it is BA, data analyst, financial analyst, or credit analyst. Analyst role remains constant and same. You don't see any difference in that. But the only difference is that if you are a business analyst, you'll be focusing on the business and as well as their process. If you are a financial analyst, you'll be focusing on the financials of the organization. If you are a credit analyst, you will be focusing on the credit risk ratio, all that. If you are a data analyst, you are focusing on the data. This is how generally the difference is. So this is what generally the role of an analyst in any of the organization, irrespective of technology, irrespective of the domain. Abhishek, I hope you got a clarity on this. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes or no?
Yes. Yes.
Right. Now, here is the one, what is that I am going to cover as part of data analyst is as follows. So of course, this content was shared you earlier, but still let me explain you what is that I am going to cover here. In this data analyst, what is that I am taking tools are few. One is for Excel. Excel is a prominent tool which is being used by us across industries for a very long time. So even for data analysis and all everything, Excel is being used for that. That is point number one. Second is Python. Python is a programming kind of stuff, programming language, where especially in the field of IT, Python programming is being used by the people for the data analysis purpose. That is being used here. Next, R programming. R programming is an open source language. Few companies were using. I don't say that everybody are following R language, but R is an open source language which is being used by few organizations nowadays. So R programming will be covered in data analysis. Followed by this Tableau and Power BI, because Tableau and Power BI are the two different tools which will be used for the data visualization. Because it's not only about the kind of data what is that we have collected, but we must be able in a position to visualize the data successfully as well. If you want to visualize the data successfully, there are different tools which are available in the market nowadays. The major two tools were two. One is Tableau and second is Power BI. These are the two tools which are being used to analyze the data, to visualize the data, wherein whatever the reports you want to publish and all everything can be done using this two different tools. So in reference to the role of data analyst in terms of the content, what is that I am going to cover in data analyst are these. One is Excel, second is Python, third is R programming, followed by Tableau and Power BI. Now I am going to cover right from the introduction, as I stated and mentioned earlier even, whatever the explanation and whatever the content I may be delivering to the people based upon the layman perspective, not by the expertise level. So my training, especially in reference to data analysis, is completely layman side. If it was the case, first of all, they must be knowing about the introduction of data analysis, why and for what reason data analysis is being used for, and how it is different from business to data analyst. That's what I have explained some time back to you. I hope you might have understood. At the same time, what are the basic skill sets required for us to become a data analyst, because analyst role skill set is common, but in reference to the data analyst, there is a specific skill set one must be knowing. So this is what the introduction part will be covered in the beginning time. In reference to the data analyst course itself is concerned, you must be knowing about the introduction. So this is what the introduction I may be covering first. Second, I'm going to cover you the statistics part, because fundamentals of statistics always useful for us, because of course nowadays importance of statistics has increased, but earlier between the times there was no much uh, focus on statistics by most of the people, but due to the exposure relating to data science, machine learning, data analysis, all that, nowadays slowly people have understood and identified the importance of statistics, so that basics of statistics usually I'm covering. Normally nobody will focus on the statistics part. One more reason was I am coming from a business management graduate, where we have the stats, all that. So of course it's a long story altogether anyway, so we have that knowledge. So when we are going for data analysis, it is always advisable to learn the basic statistics like mean, median, variance, right? So that sort of minimum basic statistics all everything were required, because when you are going for statistics in data analysis, there will be different types, like in terms of analytic, like descriptive, diagnostic, predictive analytics, prescriptive analytics, all that. So that part will be covered in basic statistics, followed by this probabilities, central tendencies, variabilities, variables. At the same time, hypothesis testing, because hypothesis testing is one kind of testing we do in statistical process usually, because hypothesis testing is a old concept. Even in management theorems also, whenever we prepare articles or whenever we are preparing any management programs and all, hypothesis testing will be done. So that is the chi-square testing, weighted average. So example I'm talking about, right? There is chi-square testing, weighted average, all that. Using this chi-square testing, weighted average, and all this hypothesis and all everything will be calculated. At the same time, regression testing, sorry, it's not regression testing, regression analysis, all that. So these are the basic statistics, these are the foundation levels. Remember that, right? So without statistics, people can teach data analysts. Nothing wrong in doing that. But if you want to make our foundation in reference to the data analysis more stronger, it is always advisable to spend some amount of time for basic statistics even, because that itself will give you an additional advantage and your foundation will become more stronger, right? So because as I told you, right, chi-square testing, weighted average, mean, median, variance, these sort of things are not only just simply like Python learning or Python or R programming, all that. So this basic statistics and all is also needed for anyone. So that's the reason why I'm covering this. Please go ahead, Abhishek. You're asking
So
something.
can we only do MySQL and Python?
I have not explained about MySQL. I'll be explaining it later. I'm talking about only statistics now.
Yeah, I mean the course, right? The 8-week course.
Hmm.
Can we exclude Excel, statistics, R programming, and Tableau?
You want me to exclude it?
Yeah.
Yeah, your wish, because this is a customized training. So that is
So
absolutely
yeah.
of.
So, I have a degree in bachelor's of mechanical engineering, where I've learned a lot of statistics. I've
Okay.
learned quite a bit about R programming as well. And
Hmm.
Excel, I think I can learn from YouTube.
So
It's not a big issue.
then what is that you are looking in this then?
I'm looking for Python mostly,
Okay.
data manipulations and all that.
Hmm.
And also, what is T-SQL?
Sorry,
What is T-SQL? And how does it differ from MySQL?
I didn't understand.
T-SQL?
It's also a structured query language, something like MySQL, because nowadays we use T-SQL is one thing. At the same time, jQuery is also there, right? So even this is being used in agile environment nowadays for Jira queries and all that. So these are all the query languages which is being used. It is almost one the same. You don't see much difference between that. T-SQL is also one of that.
Okay.
So there is of no much difference. So because you can learn anything of that sort, either it may be T-SQL or it may be MySQL, but normally what is that I cover is MySQL. That is what I usually do, because that's also an structured query language. This is, of course, that's a query language, I can say, uh, because it's all generally it is being powered by this Microsoft guys. This is all relating to Microsoft people, because earlier, have you heard about Sybase?
No.
Earlier, there is a database called Sybase. Of course, most of the people nowadays may not be having an awareness of it. Earlier, we used to have a database called Sybase, something like Oracle, all that. There is a uh, there is a database earlier was called as Sybase. In connect to the Sybase and all, Microsoft people have introduced a concept called T-SQL. That is from the Microsoft corporation. Like it's like a programming language, I can say. So that also can be used. Of course, that's a different interest. Based upon the interest that has to be learned, that's a different thing. Any questions?
So in Python, you mentioned pandas, NumPy.
Right. Reference to the Python, this is what is that I'm going to cover. The importance of data and as well as analysis, fundamentals of Python will be covered to you. Wherein we have to see what are the different data types we have and how to slice the data, what are the different functions we use in Python. At the same time, importing of data. Of course, this is a basic concept, importing of data from Excel or CSV files into Python. And how do we clean and structure the data using Python, how to debug the code. So of course, you can go through that, right? So this is what I am going to cover in Python. This is what my content for Python, especially for data analysis.